In this video, I'm going to be giving you my full painting process for this photo I made right here. So I want to invite you to grab your canvas, grab your sketchbook, grab your brush, anything else that you need, grab your friend. Let's get started. Alright everybody, to get started, I use some of my burnt sienna and mix it with my Gamsol, and I mix the two with my brush. I'm not really using too much of any amount. The paint is a very small amount, and the Gamsol is a pretty small amount as well. But this is going to be painted over, so it's just creating a rough outline of where everything will go. And I like to start off with the right side of the face where all of the curves are, such as like the eyebrow line, the cheek line, and all of the above. And I use a straight line for the eye line because I want the eyes to be on a straight plane, and this makes it very easy for me to track my proportions, make sure that everything is right, everything is aligned and nothing's crooked. So you can use lines to help you out, and also using curves such as like where the nose is connected to the eyebrow. That's an area that's really going to help you out because everybody has this feature on their face, and even though when you look at pictures or when you look at people you don't really notice it, it's there. And when you map it out with your underpainting, it makes things a lot easier to track. So I start off with my darkest colors first, and on my palette I'm squeezing a little bit of my burnt umber and some of the burnt sienna that I use for the underpainting, and a little bit of blue. I'm also going to squeeze some white to adjust the brightness of the color that I'm mixing, but first I'm starting off with these. And an important rule that you want to follow whenever you're mixing paints is to not use large amounts of paint. Don't use large amounts of paint and try to mix those together, because the paint is not really going to mold or really turn into a color that you want, and it's going to be really hard for you to get a nice color match when you're dealing with like a gallon of paint trying to mix. You're going to waste a lot of paint, and it really is not necessary to use a whole lot of paint whenever you're oil painting in the first place. A little bit goes a really long way, and you can really create a whole picture with only like small amounts of paint, because you're not using a water-based paint such as acrylics. Oil paints is oil. Oil is going to spread no matter how little or no matter how much it is. It's always going to spread, and you can really cover a large area with even just the amount that I have on the palette right now. So you can really make the most with what you have. But I'm creating this darkest area of her skin, and for the shadows, you want to start off with the shadows first. You don't want to start off with your lightest areas first, because the colors aren't really going to pop, and the dimensionality of it is not really gonna come out the way how you want it to. I've tested out with starting off with darkest colors first, starting off with lightest colors first, and the thing that most people do and the method that works best is starting off with your darkest colors. Now this brown came out a little bit darker than I wanted, so I'm gonna adjust it with a little bit of the yellow ochre over here, and I really don't need too much to adjust the paint that I have because I'm not using too much of any amount. But I want to invite you all to the description where I have my emailing list. Over there you're going to get free value, and you're going to get a free 7-step guide on how to paint portraits perfectly every single time. So I want to invite you all to check that out. But when I mix the yellow ochre and the brown here, you see that it's going to have a little bit of a lighter tone, and it has a little bit more warmth in it because of the yellow that's underneath the brown. And the yellow does a different work than the white does. The white is going to whiten up the brown, is going to make it have like a lighter tone, but it's not really, it's going to take away from the warmth of the brown. It's going to make it like a very cool brown, but the yellow will still lighten up the color that you have, but it'll keep that warmth that the color has. So that is what I want. I'm not really trying to get a light brown that's cold. I want to get a light brown that's warm. So that's the difference between using yellow ochre and using white with mixing paints. But if you want to get really good at mixing colors, the best thing that I'd recommend is that you just practice. Just keep on practicing, keep on experimenting, see what mixing what color does to another, because that's the way I've learned a lot. Of course, I've learned from my teacher, but she's not going to be able to teach me all of the different ways how we can make all the different colors on the spectrum, because there's millions, almost like billions of colors that you can make, because there's endless possibilities with oil paints. And if you want to get a very specific color, just practice, just try to figure out how to do it. And then once you unlock the code, then you have it set. You already know how to do it again, and you can just keep on using it every single time that you paint. And every single time that I paint, 80% of my time is used towards just mixing colors, trying to get the right color. And the other 20% is actual technical skills. So you need to get really good at getting a good color match and mixing your colors. And on my channel, I do have a video where you can learn how to get some skin tones. I show you the base colors that you need to buy, because to get any color that you want, you really only need about like 6 different colors, and you just mix them all together and you can adjust it, and you really don't need to buy 20 different tubes of paint. I don't really think that you should be spending your money in that way, and there's way better ways how you can get the most out of your money, because oil paints are kind of expensive and you don't want to use your money towards something that is not really going to help you out. So yeah, now that I've done mixing my color, I'm applying my darkest tans where they go, and this is in the areas such as the forehead and like around her chin. And after I added those dark tan areas, I moved in with my light reflections. And on this face, there's a little bit of red light bouncing on the right side of her face over here, and I darken it up with some of the magenta as well. My main goal for this picture was to get an accurate portrayal of the light reflection on her face. I think that was a really cool effect, and I just really enjoyed painting this as well. And in my photos, I like to add some texture. I want to add a little bit of pop. I don't want it to just be one plain photo. But when you add these little things, such as like a little bit of light bouncing on the right side of her face, or if you add a little bit of shine anywhere like in their hair, it makes the photo look that much better, and it adds a little bit more interest and a little bit more like pop in the photo, because that's something that is kind of hard to capture, and it's something that really makes you stand out. So I really enjoyed doing that. And see, now I'm moving in with my lighter areas, and here's the time when the texture really starts coming out, and the right side of her face is starting to get a little bit more shape. Before, it was a little bit flat and it didn't really have that much curvature, but all of the pop and all of the effects come from like the later stages. You're not going to see the full picture when you're starting off. You're going to have a flat photo, but you have to keep on going, because the bright stages, where you put all of the bright colors, the whites and all of those lighter colors, that is when the form of the picture really starts coming out. So don't be afraid or don't be turned off if your photo isn't looking good at the beginning, because that is how it's supposed to look. You're only putting the dark parts that are really deep, the dark parts that sink in. Trust me, I've known and I've seen my photos evolve, because my first stages look nothing like how my end stages do. But that's all the process of me just keep on going. All right, your photos are not going to look good at the start, but you just need to keep on pushing through and get to those later stages where the light really starts bouncing, and you're able to really get a good, accurate picture of how the painting will turn out. Now I'm adding some red at the top of her head, because there's some light reflection that's bouncing off the top, before I move in with my burnt umber for the rest of her hair. And these are parts of the painting that are really, really important, because just these little streaks of red and these little bounces off the light really make the painting pop. And if you leave these parts out, the picture will look flat. It won't really have that cool effect when you add the red and when you add the light and when you add all the shine on her face. So you always want to pay attention to the details if you're painting portraits. Figure out where the light is bouncing off the hardest and really make those parts stand out. It might be weird if you've never done it before, or you might feel like it's unnecessary or it's gonna pop out too much and it's not really gonna fit in. You need to put it down, because that's the only way how you're actually gonna get good at figuring out where these light reflections are, where these high contrast areas will go, where these high impact areas will be. Because you need to get rid of the fear of thinking that it's not going to look good, think of the fear of, oh, what if I mess up the picture? The picture will be 10 times better if you just add it. And even if it doesn't come out good the first time that you do it, you're going to start to get better at actually implementing those high impact areas, because this is something I also see in a lot of not only beginners, but a lot of people who just paint in general. They don't add those light reflection areas, and those are a very, very easy way for you to level up all of your photos in general. So just Find places where all the light is reflecting, like the top of the head. This is an area that a lot of people miss out on. They'll just paint the hair straight brown, but when you add the red, it makes a huge difference. And again, I want to invite you to my emailing list in the description, where you can find the 7-step guide on how to paint portraits perfectly every single time. And over there, you're not only going to find that 7-step guide that teaches you how to paint portraits. Here's where you're going to get early access to my coaching, because I'm going to launch art coaching where I'm going to be beside you. I'm going to help you with all of the questions that you have, and I'm going to get you to a place where you can really be confident in the work that you make, because you should be confident in the art that you make, because it makes it that much more enjoyable. It doesn't matter what skill level you are. You can be super good, or you can be medium, or you can be just starting off. I think that you should be confident in the work that you make, and that's the only thing that really matters whenever you're painting, is if you really enjoy and if you really appreciate the work that you make. So I want to thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.